Well, if there's one person and one moment that has become symbolic in the fight for victims of violence against women and girls, it is Gisele Pelicot, and it is this.
Je pense aussi à toutes les autres familles touchées par ce drame.
I'm thinking about all the families affected by this case and the unnamed victims in these stories who are often in the shadows. You should know we share the same struggle.
Gisele Pelicot there, outside court, having given up her anonymity so the world could see her husband too. We all know her story. Time hasn't made it any less shocking to hear a mother drugged and raped around 200 times over a 10-year period by her husband and 50 other men he invited into their home. But the story didn't end outside that courtroom in Avignon. It didn't end with one woman, no matter how much of an icon she became. This is a real family. You can see some of them there, a mother, a father, 3 children who said they had a normal childhood. Today, we've spoken to Caroline Darian, Dominique and Gisele's daughter. Her pain didn't go away that day, nor did the problem of abuse against women. Shame must change sides. Those were the words Gisele Pelicot said outside court that rung out around the world. But words, no matter how powerful, come up against the reality of actually getting things done, the reality we're seeing in this country of resources, capacity to actually deal with offenders. And as we debate that, surely if anyone has a voice that is worth listening to, it's the daughter of not just the survivor of the biggest French rape trial in history, but also the child of her abuser. Here's our interview with Caroline Darian. And a warning, it does contain some distressing content. Caroline Darian, thank you so much for talking to us today. I think first we do need to talk about the events in your life that have led you here today. And you, in your book, talk about the day that everything changed. Can you just tell us a bit about that day? This was the day that you found out what your father was doing to your mother.
Yeah, sure. It was 5 years ago this year. It was on the very beginning of November 2020. Monday the 2nd, actually. And I spent the whole day working from home because we're in the middle of the lockdown. And at the end of the day, my mom called me. It was about, 8:30, and she had to inform me that my dad was arrested. And she had also to tell me that he used to drug her for raping her, for him, but also with some other strangers. And at the moment of my life, I really realized that I didn't know the one who raised me. And it was really strange and hurtful because, precisely at this moment of my life, I've lost a part of me. I lost part of my foundation, part of my education, and part of my childhood.
Did you ever think your father could have been capable of something like that?
Never, ever. My father, we were a united family. I was really close from him. We were used to have a lot of discussion, doing a lot of things together. And I've never seen my dad staring at women or having, bad habits or bad, behaviors. So it was really, really tough to integrate that news, which is awful, because you have to cope with the fact that your father, my father, is one of the most important criminals over the past 10 or even more, 10 years or much more than that.
How do you feel now when you look back to the time before that day? You talk about the good relationship you had with your father. How do you feel now when you think back about your childhood?
I'm trying to not think about that part of my life. It's to me, it's so far away from now. It's almost like it wasn't real. I mean, it wasn't a real part of my life.
But it was.
It was, but you know, it's one of the worst betrayal in a lifetime, because he was my dad, and I was, I trusted him. You know, the relationship between a daughter and a father, it's something really different and special. It's really behind me from now, right now.
You said in your book you miss your father and you find it hard to hate him.
It was difficult from the start, during the first 2 years, having to stop loving him as a father. But through the investigation and all of this story, I really discovered what he was able to do. It was a long mourning process, but I think now I really looked at him differently.
We also know that there were photos that were taken without your permission. How do you feel about that now, and do you feel like you will ever find out the truth about what might have happened to you?
During the trial, I was really hoping to get the truth, part of the truth, but he decided to stay in silence and even, to lie, simply. I know something wrong happened. I know that I was sedated. I know, I'm convinced. There's no, question marks. For me, it's really clear. The real question behind this is the why. Why he did that? When you know that what he's able to do with my mom, his own wife, ex-wife, because now they got divorced, but when he said that it was his love of his life, it doesn't make any sense. So I know that anyway, whatever he did, I know that it stopped looking at me as his own daughter. So there is a kind of it's really difficult to look the truth, as I had to, because for me, there's a kind of an incest relationship.
You had to look at those photos. Can you tell us as much as you're happy to share about that?
Yeah, I'm totally sedated, almost naked. I'm wearing a beach pant, which is not mine. It's the same on those two pictures, which were taken at two different places. One in my bedroom, in my old bedroom, and the other pictures, I don't even know where I am. I can't recognize, the venue, the space. It doesn't remind me anything. And I'm, positioned like my mom on every other pictures that were taken from her. So it was a shock when I had to look at those pictures, at the police station in the south of France, the day after the first phone call from my mom.
I should say your father has consistently denied abusing you.
Yeah, and he even said, during this trial that for him, he didn't remember having taken those pictures, but once again, it doesn't make any sense.
You said that you felt forgotten and invisible in the trial. What did you mean by that?
It's really difficult for me seeing that, even after 5 or 6 months, but I really realized during this court that it was first and foremost the trials of Gisele, my mom. I was hoping, to get the entire truth from Dominique, that I'm not able to call him dad, anymore. But I realized that, the qualification right from the start from my own case weren't done, in a right way. So I don't have enough evidence even if I know that something went and he did something wrong. I haven't, any toxicological analysis, whereas my mom, had those testing. So I was hoping desperately hoping, being recognized as a victim, but I wasn't able to. Even the justice, the court, wasn't able to look at me as a real victim like my mom. And it's really difficult, but you know what? I'm representing most of the 90% of the victims in France when we talk about chemical submission, when we talk about, incest, when we talk about, sexual assault. Some cases like my mom doesn't exist. When you have all of this evidence on the table, it's not even 1%.
And you've also said before that in character you think you're very different to your mother.
We're totally different. But we are not in the same position. She decided to do her life with Dominique. He was her partner of life. Me, I didn't decide to get that further in my own life. I had his DNA in my blood. It's a tough legacy to bear on my shoulder.
Let's talk about the campaign that you're working on. This is about chemical submission, which is effectively the act of abusing someone when they're drugged. Tell me a bit about that campaign.
Yeah, sure. So we've been working for 4 years now. We've been launching this movement 3 years ago, which is now, became an association. And we're closely working with the government. And we've been just, working on a governmental mission with Sandrine Josso, one of our deputies. And she's a spokesperson of my NGO. And we are now, working on different kind of guidelines, being able to improve, all the healthcare support for all the victims. But also, there's going to be this annual awareness campaign in France, which is a real turning point. So this is part of the work that we are doing in France, working closely with the government, but we're also, working closely with the health professionals because we need to train them, being able to identify and detect, those kind of cases when they have to. Sometimes they have to deal with. We are really working, driving awareness amongst the many about the symptoms, what to do, what you have to do if you have a doubt, where you have to go. This is, something that it's a big work on a daily basis, but I think we are making a change. It's a kind of a real make changer in France right now, and I know it's been recognized, by the public, the people, the many people. So there's a kind of a satisfaction, not from now, but still there are so many things to do.
You have such an important voice. You're the daughter of a survivor of abuse, but also the daughter of the abuser. I hope you don't mind me asking you a bit about a policy here in the UK, because there's been lots of debate about prisoners being released early, how we treat perpetrators of violence against women and girls. Do you think men like your father can be rehabilitated?
No.
In any circumstance?
Never, ever. Their journey, Dominique's journey is dangerous. Is really, to me, it's too risky for that kind of profile. Not doing his own sentence. And I know that he's probably going out, within 10 years for good behavior. But to me, there's a lot of chance to see this kind of profile acting once again.
And what about people who have committed maybe lesser crimes but still violence against women and girls, should they be locked up or should we be trying to rehabilitate?
I think there's always positive things to consider. I don't think in a prison or being in jail or during many years it's only the solution. Just need to get a caring process. We just need to get a caring process for that kind of profile. I also tend to think that setting up a dialogue with those kind of people and getting a kind of a caring follow-up with them, it's really important.
So you do believe in rehabilitation?
I believe,
not for your father, though.
Depending on who we're talking to.
The British government are considering mandatory chemical castration. So these are drugs to suppress sexual libido for some of the most serious criminals. Is that something you'd agree with?
Once again, for my dad, it's probably one part of the solution. Because, when you're at that level of crime, that level of criminal, there's nothing else you can do. So, yeah, chemical castration is maybe one part of the solution.
And can I also just ask, lastly, how's your family now? Do you see your brothers and mother? Is there some semblance of a normal family now without your father?
No, we don't have a normal family life anymore. I think Dominique destroyed a lot of things. So we are all trying to recover, trying to go on with our own life, but we are not the same family anymore.